Hi, everybody. I'm Sarah Bearup-Neal, Gallery Manager with the Glen Arbor Arts Center. Welcome to this conversation with Rebecca Lessard of Wings of Wonder. It's part of the Arts Center's new exhibition, Birdlandia. Birdlandia is a juried exhibition that takes a long look at birds from many different angles and features the work of 22 artists. We're delighted to let you know that Birdlandia may be viewed any time of the day or night on the Glen Arbor Arts Center website through July 16. Go to glenarborart.org and click on exhibits and then click on virtual exhibits. You can find links to this interview today and other companion materials there too. Before we begin, I want to thank the National Endowment for the Arts, the Michigan Council of Arts and Cultural Affairs, and the Amy L. Clark Carroll's Family Fund for their support of this exhibition. Let me tell you a little bit about Rebecca. Rebecca Lessard was drawn into the world of raptors in 1990. She had an opportunity to work with an injured red-tailed hawk, and then this led her to create a raptor rehabilitation center in her family's Leelanau County backyard. In the decades since Wings of Wonder's inception, its volunteers and staff have helped rehabilitate more than 2,500 raptors. Raptors are eagles, owls, hawks, and other birds of prey to good health with the goal of releasing them back into the wild. Wings of Wonder is a sanctuary and a rehabilitation center dedicated to educating and increasing public awareness about wildlife, ecology, and environmental issues as they relate to raptors. Wings of Wonder has made more than 2,200 presentations throughout Michigan and has reached more than 270,000 people of all ages. Welcome, Rebecca. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Tell us why raptors? What's it about these birds that grabbed you?
Well, the first grab was that very first red-tailed hawk that I had the opportunity to work with. And up until that point, I had never worked with raptors or really any other birds. I have a degree in biology and I considered myself a mammal biologist. And so I worked a variety of different jobs with mammals and just pretty much steered clear of birds. So when I was given that opportunity to work with an injured red-tailed hawk, I have to share, I was frightened. I knew nothing about raptors and I just was really afraid of it. I mean, you can get really hurt by a raptor. But when I held that bird in my arms, that moment in time completely changed my life path direction. It was such a profound experience for me. And so from that experience, I went on to learn about raptors through internships in national and international conferences. And the more I learned, the more hungry, I guess, I was to learn more about raptors, because they're very, very important creatures for a sustainable, healthy ecosystem. And also their populations are really threatened. And so working with raptors, rehabilitating raptors can make a big difference to a population. Like when I rehabilitate a peregrine falcon, that's an endangered species in our state, and I'm able to release that bird, that can potentially make a difference to that population. So I felt there was a value in working with raptors. It's been 31 years and I'm still learning about raptors. So I just felt it was valuable life work to do, and that it was important to educate other people about raptors. So that's kind of how it evolved. I had no conscious intention of dedicating my life to raptors. It just, now I look back and realize how consumed I've been by raptors and how quickly my life path changed from totally focused on mammals to completely flipping and totally focusing on raptors. So that's kind of how that direction happened.
Through your presentations and the public releases of birds who have recovered from their injuries, you always try and help people make the connection between their behavior and raptors' well-being. So two-part question here. Give us a couple of quick examples of the kinds of injuries you've dealt with.
Okay.
And how do you, in your programs, connect dots for people?
Right. I've really learned that I feel my programs they're more effective when I present the information in sort of a story-like fashion. Instead of listing all the scientific facts about raptors, which, can cause people, even myself, to glaze over, I wrap that into a story about the particular raptor I'm talking about. So I will draw from my experiences from the rehab cases, and most of our rehab patients come because they're injured from car accidents, mainly because raptors are like us. They like a free meal, and roadkill is a free meal. And when they come down and they're feasting on roadkill, they are reluctant to fly off really fast, or they can't fly off very fast because they've been gorged on all this food, and they get hit by cars. And so to tell a story about how we get the raptor, and we have 12 different veterinary hospitals throughout Michigan that participate with our program, the surgical process and the physical therapy process afterwards, and then eventually the release. I think people can relate to that story, and then their minds are more open, and because they're maybe a little bit more compassionate about raptors. And then I can kind of tuck in those harder science facts. I like to leave my audiences feeling with a sense of empowerment with this information. And so I usually suggest ways they can live in harmony or attract raptors to their communities through building a nest box, which we provide the plans on our website, or working with conservancies to protect land for raptors. So, there's a lot of doom and gloom about raptors with just their diminishing populations, but I don't like to leave my audience members with that doom and gloom feeling. So I touch on that, but then I empower them with ways they can help the raptors. And I find that seems to be really effective. People leave the programs all charged up about building nest boxes, and it's a win-win. Yeah.
You touched on this a little bit earlier, but could you expand on the question of why do raptors matter? It sounds like a flip question, but there's so many subtleties and shades of gray. So can you illuminate some of that?
Well, like I said earlier, they're important to a healthy ecosystem. They're top predators, top of the food chain like we are. And so they're kind of, they're feasting on the weak, the sick, the old. So they're keeping healthier populations out there of animals. They're food based, I guess. And also as we share being a top predator and top of the food chain, we need the same things that raptors need in order to live a healthy life. Clean air, clean water, food, a safe place to raise a family. And so when their populations are hurting, we really need to wake up and take note. And so in some circles, raptors are called indicator species. They indicate whether the environment is healthy or not. And so when you have pockets of areas where raptor populations are really dropping drastically, or pockets meeting across the US, like with our American kestrels, a very small little falcon, we need to really wake up and take note. What is causing that huge population decrease? Because it's going to affect us. So, so raptors are important. Really, all top predators in the food chain are important to healthy environments.
In order to begin to understand why raptors matter, people have to be aware that there are raptors around us. So let's talk for a minute about some of the ways that someone who would like to begin increasing their awareness of raptors could begin in their own backyard and then move out from there.
Yeah, it's always surprising to me when people will sit through one of my programs and then afterwards say, you know, these raptors are really cool that you brought, but you know, we don't have those in my area. And I'm like, oh yeah, all the raptors that I talk about are native to Michigan. We have them all here. And people will be like, well, I've never seen them. Mm-hmm. Just because you haven't seen them doesn't mean they're there, or they're not there. So so some really easy ways to start getting kind of snagged by the wonders of raptors is to follow one of the webcams. There's so many options on the internet to follow a webcam, which is a camera that's panning down on mostly its bald eagle nests. And so you can watch the interaction between the parent birds, incubating chicks, raising their chicks, watching the antics of the chicks. You know, the young eagles get big pretty darn fast, and you'll be watching them, you know, from the camera looking down on the nest, and then all of a sudden this fish will drop out of the air because parents are flying over and drop lunch. And so you can watch that behavior, which is a great way of kind of armchair birding. And then you can get involved with building nest boxes and putting those up in your yard or your neighborhood. You can get involved with the conservancies and go on hikes. I just read about a couple of 8 or 9-year-old girls in the Maple City area that have started a little birding club. I mean, how cool is that? You know, buy a pair of binoculars and just sit in a lawn chair and observe a tree for a while. I mean, it's amazing how much is out there that us humans kind of walk around with blinders. So it's easy to start getting snagged by really the wonders of nature, and that can even lead you, maybe it'll lead you to observing turtles, or in my case, it just happened to be raptors.
You talk about things that ultimately come down to beginning by sitting still and just watching.
Yeah.
Which is a hard thing to do sometimes. You've begun the process of phasing yourself out of the raptor rehabilitation business. So talk a bit about what lies ahead. You've got a collaboration brewing with the Little Traverse Bay Band of Odawa. What's up with that?
Yeah, well, after doing all this rehab for 30 plus years, I'm kind of ready to back out of that. It's very labor intensive, really demanding. And I think it's time to pass the torch on that one. And so I've had a 15 or 20 year relationship with that tribe up there, and great folks. And we've talked about creating a raptor center up there, and it's now pretty much at the top of their goal, their list. And so we've entered into the planning stage now. And I have dedicated this year and all next year to working with them and making that project happen. And so the dream is to create a new raptor center up in the Harbor Springs area, that'll be run by the tribe, and it will also eventually include a tribal eagle aviary, which will house probably 4 non-releasable bald eagles for viewing, and then they'll have their own feather repository. So they'll be able to collect those molted feathers and use those in their ceremonies and fans and everything. So it's really exciting to be able to nurture that project and get that going and have something in place so I can completely back out of actually the hands-on work with the Raptors. And then my goal with Wings of Wonder is to continue it as just an educational organization, creating curriculum and working on some project ideas, some book projects that it's like some really fun Raptor kits can be gifted out to the schools and public libraries that include some activities and some fun things that people of all ages could tap into and have fun with it. So that's where Wings of Wonder is kind of evolving, and then this new Raptor Center starting. So it's super exciting.
It sounds like with the relationship with the band, it's a perfect transition. Wings of Wonder doesn't strike me as the kind of undertaking that you can just say, well, I'm done. Now I'm going to retire.
Yeah.
Close the door. You have how many birds right now that are permanent residents at the sanctuary?
Well, I only have one. The other education birds have been transferred to colleagues of mine who are using them in their educational programs. And so the bird that I still have is my resident turkey vulture, who's totally in love with me. I'm going to probably become that eccentric lady who lives in the backwoods who has a turkey vulture. But he's an amazing bird, and I've had him for 14 years. But they can live to be like 40 in captivity. So chances are I will be that eccentric lady living in the woods with a turkey vulture. And then I have a couple of birds in rehab. I have a bald eagle, and so just a little bit of rehab. It's pretty quiet, but yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. The turkey.
If anyone wants to learn more about Wings of Wonder, how do they do that?
We can be contacted through our website, wingsofwonder.org. They can follow us on our Facebook page, which is really active. We post pretty often on it. There's lots of videos of some of our cases and the rehab process. The release is pretty interactive. And we certainly invite people to join Wings of Wonder through a membership, and because we are a federally recognized charitable organization and pretty much run on donations and grants. So it's fun to be a member. You get, if you can join as an adoption of a raptor and help continue our work with education.
Thank you so very much. And I want to thank everyone who is sharing this conversation with us today. From me and from everyone at the Glen Arbor Arts Center, we wish good birds to you and see you soon. See you, Rebecca.
Thank you very much, Sarah.
Bye-bye.